and Jack here from Warhammer Online, and we're going to be having a look at the Aether Wars box set. Woo! Hello everyone, and yeah, welcome to a quick unboxing. We've been fortunate enough to receive a copy of Aether War from the wonderful people at Games Workshop. We're going to be having a look through the box. Let's face it, there's 2 new models. Everything else is pre-existing, but beautiful models nevertheless, so do not discount it. Price, incredible value. 6 Skyfires, 6 of the floaty dwarfy dudes. Two characters is probably at least 40 odd quid, so this is a great value box. Let's jump into it. If anybody has, we can see and hear you, says Colin. If anybody has any chats, if you can do at Wargamer Online and drop it in the chat with a quick question as we get into the box, happy to cover that. Given this box set is really about, you know, 2 new character models, which are beautiful. We're not going to focus too much on the plastic itself. What we're going to do is jump into the warscrolls a little bit. But I think
they are brand new warscrolls, as far as I'm aware. I'm not too sure on the Magister. I think it's a new warscroll.
It is a new warscroll. And also we're going to be having a look at the missions and the kind of game mechanic around aerial combat.
The new aerial game mechanic, which looks actually quite exciting.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So, without further ado, I've got a button I need to click. I've clicked that button. Let's do that. Let's get in here. Lovely box. If you want to know how thick it is, it's kind of that kind of thick. So it's not one of the big deep boxes. No. Doesn't need to be though. That's all good. Games Workshop saving space when it comes to packaging. Can't fault them for that. Okay, having a quick jump into this. I'm going to separate out. Here we have the character. So this is the Magistra, and somewhere in here we are going to have the Aether Chemist. Oh, sorry, it's an Endron Master, isn't it? Okay, but you know, quickly going through that. 3 Screamers. There's the 6 Skyfires, Enlightened. Yes. Pretty excited about that. For those of you who've been following the channel, I've been building as each army. I am exactly 6 of these dudes short, so absolutely perfect to add to my army. Let's pop them to one side. Here we have the 6
floaty
Endron
Riggers or Sky
Wardens. Yeah. So
they're
again,
floaty mines. 6 of
those. If you haven't spent any time looking at these models, I actually think these are some of the best models in the Kharadron Overlord range anyway. All the little kind of fins and stuff for steering, and then the cool little dangly down bits for sampling the air and stuff like that.
They're
it's just
mines.
Are they mines? I didn't think they were.
No, they're sky mines.
No, I'm going to let you have it. Sky mines it is. And one last little ship.
Gun hauler.
The gun hauler, which is absolutely brilliant. We've just been discussing when I do my Kharadron Overlord army. We're going to get some classic boat nameplates on there, I think needs to be done.
I think Kharadrons have to have epic names for their boats.
They do. Each one needs a beautiful name. I know my father-in-law named his boat after my wife, actually. Although Sarah Jane, I'm not sure it works. Not sure it works for a Kharadron Overlord.
You need
boat, Grumbles?
By GB, and then the name, like by Grungny's beard, and then
Grumble's beard.
by Grumble's beard, something like that.
Something along those lines.
Something grumbly.
Okay, so we're going to jump into the box itself. We've got, as usual, one of the cover sheets here, but what a fantastic piece of artwork, and I think it's what I've used behind us as well. It's an amazing piece of artwork. You've got to give it that. Beautiful work again from Games Workshop, and it's one of those things you tend to pluck this out the box and put it to one side, but you know what, if you like your artwork and if it's about your faction, that's definitely frameable, you know. It's just a great piece of work. Okay, cool. Some very cool stuff going off in the background here, by the way, because as you can see, all having a little mid-air combat over a mountain range.
The boat,
boats,
cool. Birds, beards,
birdie boats, bases, plasticky bits. Everybody's flying in this box, so there's going to be quite a few flight stands. What do you expect? We have the Aether War Buck. Yes, it's open. When it originally arrived, these were in a plastic bag, but obviously we've opened it so we can have a sneak preview in the box and have a think about that. We have got, quite excitingly, some hidden agendas.
Secret agendas, yeah.
We're playing in a tournament at Warhammer World on February where the hidden agendas form part of the game making.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
pretty excited about that. So for those of you who don't know, Games Workshop are running an event in early February.
8th and 9th.
8th and 9th of February, where it's basically an escalation game, isn't it? You play 3 missions of meeting engagements, 1,000 points, and then three full battle missions at 2,000 points. And in each of those game formats, you have an additional character called the Commander, which you can customize to a degree. 6 or 7
It's
options.
quite cool. It's like a little hobbyist dream, isn't it? It's thrown a school, so it's one of the more friendly.
I think when our armies are complete, because we've been playtesting our armies like crazy over the Christmas period, maybe we should do a show on that as well.
Yeah.
Right, but without further ado, Aether War. So we've got battle scrolls. That's quite cool. Core rule book. You can never fault that, to be honest. It's always good to have a copy of that lying around, because it's amazing actually how sometimes every now and then you just completely forget a rule. So it's worth going back and just reminding yourself of some of the basics. At the very least, you got the triumph table in there as well, which is worth remembering, because it's a unused game mechanic to say the least. And of course, scenery table as well. Okay, moving on. We have, of course, the obligatory card 9-inch dice. 9-inch measure stick rather.
Yep.
And then we've got all sorts of things with magnetic fields, the home blades, cannot retreat, and then a bunch of command points, advanced permeable, which are all covered in the missions, and we'll come onto that, dumping that to one side. And of course, quite interestingly enough, all of the instructions published together into one book. So if you want to build all of this, some lovely stuff. Interesting to see the base guides being so clear in what base to use to what. Some interesting point, this chap's on a 50mm base rather than the standard floaty 40mm base for the Enlightened. And of course, a point to mention, the Caradron Endrin Master is on a 40mm base as opposed to the standard 32. Yeah. But then again, he's a big old beast.
Yeah, he's actually surprisingly quite big.
Yeah, he belongs on a 40mm base. Let's put that out the way and let's have a look at some of this stuff. I'm going to throw those across to you. And annoyingly dropped on the floor the cards, the hidden agenda cards. Good move there from me. While I organise zooming into these plastic kits, should we just catch up on the chat briefly, just in case there's a question? Colin's just saying over it. Daka Flacker Flame saying hello. DJ the Lucky One saying hi. All 12 Neef is in there, still working, so I can't stay long. Have you tried White Dwarf minigames yet? Keep up the great work. We haven't tried the White Dwarf minigames yet, and unfortunately, due to a family emergency over Christmas, we've done very little gaming, haven't we? So,
yes,
we'll talk about that some other time. Right, Martin, best be pink. I'm confused. And Vaughn Killian said, "Oh yeah, of course, a live one." Hi Vaughn, how you doing, man? Right, okay, let's get into these models. If I can, I'm going to have to zoom into these things, so let's just pull this up close. Here we go. I think that's worth doing. Here we go. So this is the spinny Endrin Master. You see what he really wants to fly. For those of you who've not seen the model in its entirety, he's got a slightly bigger kind of piece of ether kit behind him. A couple of things that are really noticeable is he's got this also Mechanicum-esque set of tools operating off of his shoulder, of which we can see them here. He's got like a little grippy claw there. Looks like a flamer. This guy's not a million miles off a Mechanicum dude, to be honest. You know, what looks like to be an adjustable spanner. Some kind of drill in the top corner here. Either way, fantastic stuff. I am not criticising it at all when I say it's a bit Mechanicum-esque.
No.
I like the fact that this guy comes completely flying in there. And you've not only got his sword to deal with, but you've also got a good kicking off of this stuff to come with. What I really love about this is his little propulsion system.
Yeah.
So it's got this little... I mean, what's amazing is the size of the propeller and how ineffective those blades actually would be. But that doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's
It's
Age of Sigmar.
dwarf tech.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, it's rotating at like 8,000 revs per minute or something
And then
like
it
that.
would work.
Yeah, in which case it'll just zoom along, you know, 2D 6-inch run, probably.
Oh, yes.
And a whole bunch of pipes and stuff. At the end of the day, I have been spending a little bit of time studying these Caradron Overlord models, partly because I've been using one as my custom commander, and partly because they're my next dwarf army. So
Woo.
at the end of the day, I've fallen in love with these models.
Yeah,
The more
they
I've
are
spent
nice.
looking at the detail on them, it's incredible. The challenge is to almost do the detail justice because there's so much on here. You know, because the temptation is with like anything, it's a bit like Necrons. You could just go blam, metal,
Yes.
wash, job done.
Yeah.
But when you actually start to get into all of
It's
these,
a lot of like leather decal and little bits of tech and gyros and readings and stuff.
beautiful stuff. I love these little pistols as well. Fantastic part of the model. So, looking good. Let's have a quick look at the war scroll. I mean, Jack, have you had a chance to look at these at all?
I was just about to look at that.
You were
one.
just about to look at it. Well, let's cover the basics. You know, this is a 12-inch move, 8 wounds.
Yeah,
The
he's
guy's
a
pretty tough.
chunky lad with a 3-up save.
3-up save, and here we go with the weapon battery with an 18-inch range, decent length for Sigmar.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a decent
yeah.
shooting length. 6 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rem, 1 damage. I can't complain with that. 3s and 3s all the
Pretty
way
good.
through, looking good. The Aether cannon mounted on him with a 12-inch range, 1 attack, 3s and 2s. Okay, you've got to get past the hit roll. I'm always afraid of something that does a lot of damage with a decent rend, but it's a one-shotter.
It's 3s to hit though, so it's not too bad. It's not as bad as like
And
cannon
there's probably
shots.
a bunch of stuff you can do to make that better
Yeah.
anyway along the ways. And the gaze of Grundy, which I just think is absolutely fantastic.
Just glares at you.
We've got a 9-inch range, just attacks 1, 3s, 2s, -1 D3 damage. So certainly, you know, some damage output
Quite
capability.
an impressive damage output.
You know,
to say the
especially the fact that
least.
every single one of them has a rend of some
Yeah.
description with a 2 rend there on that one shotter. And again, relatively decent range.
Yeah.
You know, bear in mind that when you're closing down to 9-inch, then you're just pumping all 3 of those things out, aren't
Yeah.
you? We also have the Matic Saw then, and essentially this is actually his hand weapon. So he's got a little chainsaw, folks.
It's for like cutting through things.
Of course he
isn't
has.
it?
Of course he has. Top man. And this basically does, you know, the classic 1-inch attack, of course. 3 attacks, 3s, 2s. 2s is good.
-2
-2 rend, D3 damage.
That's pretty
Solid.
impressive. That's
It's
pretty
solid.
impressive.
You know, if we were to take the Runefather's axe, for instance, in Fire Slayers, that's 3 attacks at 3s and 3s. -1 rend,
3
doing 3 damage. You know, I mean, this -2 rend is going to get past a lot.
Yeah, and the 2 to wound's nice as well.
I always prefer a solid damage stat than a D.
Yeah.
You know, because that's going to average out at 2, and you know all of those will. But you know, you can't really complain.
No.
You know, I don't think it's not the end of the world. Of course, he can fly. Of course.
He's got a big floaty suit.
At the start of your hero phase, you can pick 1 friendly sky vessel within an inch of this model and heal 3 wounds.
That's,
Boom.
that's pretty impressive.
That's no roll,
The
that
fact
just
it's
happens.
just a flat 3.
Yeah.
That's quite a few wounds.
Not only is it a flat 3, it does it. It's
Yeah,
not roll on a
yeah,
4 up.
yeah.
You do it. You know.
You just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Hitches. So this model is wholly within 6 inches of a friendly sky vessel. Immediately before it uses its fly high ability, you can say this model will hitch a lift instead.
He just kind of like holds
So
on to the side.
6-inch. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
that bad.
quite- it's
you
quite
know,
a
and it's not
range.
wholly within. Oh, it is wholly within.
Oh,
But it's a
it's
40 mil
very
base.
good.
It's not the end of the world. If you do so, the sky vessel has moved. Remove the model from the battlefield and set it up 6 inches within 6 inches of the sky vessel. So he just basically just hitches a lift.
Yeah, he just grabs on.
You know, for a fly high, which is
What's
pretty
that?
cool.
No more than 7 models. So, you know, him and 2 units of 3 engine riggers, hitching a lift with your ironclad, topping it up with its wounds, keeping it safe.
Oh, or in the context of this box set, it's just jumping,
That's
just
true.
hitching a lift
That's
onto
true.
the
The
help
gun
me out.
hauler.
Gun
The
hauler,
whole-
thank you.
The entire army's just floating away.
Quite nice. Any engine rigger, you know, wholly within 18 inches of the model using, there's a command ability with the engine craft ability. If you do so, essentially you can re-roll the dice that determines how many wounds are healed. So it's a
That's
nice
quite
little
impressive.
boost. So great model, decent enough rules, fantastic little addition to the box set. Gauges. Everybody's warning me about gauges with these models. Well, forget gauges for a bit. Let's have molten, swishy metal and bird's feet, because that's certainly what's going off here.
Yeah.
I really like this model, actually. Again, let's see if we can get his artwork just poking on the side there as well. Interesting, quite a dynamic pose for the disc. It's something that I've been trying to do with my Zeech Skyfires and stuff, is to give more of a dynamic pose to them. The only thing is just how the models themselves are posed. They're kind of posed for a flat disc. It's been really hard to reposition them. It's nice to see it a bit more dynamic. Personally, I'm not 100% sold on the switchy round curly bit, but you know, it works.
I think that thing as well is very easy to change as well if you want it.
Yeah, sure. And at the end of the day, it's just a great looking model.
The staff's amazing.
The staff is absolutely super cool. That's fantastic. The character itself, there's some gorgeous armor on there as well. So for you detail freaks, let me see if I can just zoom in a little bit more, so you can see the detail on the armor. It's a gorgeous looking model, to be honest. And just even on the top face of that disc, very, very nice. And in fact, actually, the underface of the disc, you know, given it's got that sharp angle, it's nice that they've given that some attention. I also like the fact the disc is quite unique. It's got this tapered rear to it as well, you know, this kind of heart-shaped, not quite heart-shaped, but, you know, we're all loving Zeech, and I think that's what we're trying to say. Alright, great looking stuff, good looking model. The face is incredible on it as well, although weirdly enough, I don't seem to be able to find the face, but yeah, no. Should we there it is.
Is it that?
There it is. There it is. So there you can see the face, and again, a whole bunch of detail, and interestingly enough, just what appears to be a few extra eyes on his forehead there. You know,
Zeech, never enough eyes.
Oh, now zooming out, I've absolutely broken the Battle Scroll book, but let's have a look. So this is the Magister, 16-inch move, of course.
Yeah, it's on a disc. It's
on a disc.
Pretty fast.
So these things are faster than, of course, they're faster than their stunty friends. 6 wounds though, certainly not as tough. 5 up save, certainly not as durable,
yeah.
for sure. But let's get into this. He's got the rune staff with an 18-inch range, 1 attack, 3s and 4s, doing D3 damage. No rend, interestingly enough. That 4 to wound worries me. You know, anytime you kind of get that 1 attack through, and then you get past that, and you've still got a 50-50.
Yeah.
We've got the Warp Steel Sword, 1 attack, 4s and 4s with 1 damage, and then the teeth and horns, of course, of the disc, which is fairly standard. But he's not really about the weapons and the shooting anyway. What is about is magic touched. If the casting roll for this model is double the casting attempt is successful and it's not unbound, this model can attempt to cast an extra spell.
Yep.
So nice. If it does so, the extra casting roll is double, the spell automatically fails, and this model is slain.
Yep. Keep reading. It gets better.
If a friendly Magister is slain by this effect, roll 1 dice before removing the model, and a 2+ Zeech Chaos Spawn is added to your army. Set up the Chaos Spawn anywhere on the battlefield within 1 inch. I mean,
Zeech is a fickle one, isn't he?
Well, he's never been.
One moment he's benefiting you with a bit more magic, and the next moment you're just a squelching mass on the floor.
Yeah, he's. I mean, from his perspective, of course, all of this is good.
He's crafting him in the image.
Yeah,
that's most pleasurable
Zeech
to him.
turns you into a Chaos Spawn. He probably thinks he's improved you.
Yeah.
You might not necessarily agree with that.
But hey,
depends on
who are you to decide a God's judgment?
Exactly. It depends on your life your outlook on life. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You know, if Zeech is going to throw you melons.
Turn into a spawn?
That doesn't make any sense. Okay, Bolt of Change. The Magister hurls a bolt of energy. So what is this? A Bolt of Change, casting value of 7. Pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster visible. The unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. If any models were slain by a spell before removing the first slain model, you can add a Chaos Spawn to your army and send it up anywhere within 3 inches.
You turn into a Chaos Spawn.
Yeah.
Now you're turning other people into Chaos Spawns.
What's a real shocker about that is set it up anywhere within 3 inches.
Yeah.
So that unit has to retreat now.
Yeah,
at the very least, or it's got to deal with it in combat. They've got to deal with it in combat, and then heaven forbid, it says anywhere within. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you could do with that. Yeah. You can tag right on the 3 inch mark, right at the end of a unit. So the best they can do is pile in 1, 2, maximum 3 models if they've got a 2-inch range to try and take a Chaos Spawn out.
Yeah.
And Chaos Spawn are relatively survivable.
Yeah, I was going to say something that I wouldn't be surprised if you see this Magister being quite a common ally to Beasts of Chaos, who specialise in Gave Spawn and the Zeech, because it's just that Chaos Spawn every turn. You know, you cast this spell, and
spawns.
somebody dies, a spawn is set up, then you charge your Zangors, and then you can give the Zangors an additional attack from the spawn. It's kind of like tagging the unit you want to focus on this turn with the spawn.
You're probably definitely going to see it in my Gave Spawn list, because it's just too
like
nice
constant ability to make a spawn.
To Chaos Spawn, and Chaos Spawn are just too good for Gave Spawn.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, massively boost your army in terms of, you know, anything from movement to the amount of attacks you can do, etc., etc. So we'll cover Gave Spawn another time. That's not what we're here for. What I want to do is jump into the book.
Yep.
Where again, we're not going to cover the other war scrolls really.
Yeah, they haven't changed much.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't changed much. And you know, we're going to be covering the Battletome releases of both of those two factions anyway in detail. So there's no point to go into that. Let's go into what this book is about. It's going to require some zooming out or zooming in, depending on whether I want to keep you guessing on what's going to happen next on this show. Here we go. We are going to go. I'll open this up, but we can zoom in on some of the detail. Let's have a quick look. In fact, oh, come on, we can do this now. There we go. That's the bane of live shows. There it is. It's not a huge book, 41 pages approximately, probably 42. We've got the Cults of the Eyrie, Prosper or Die, The War in the Skies, which kind of covers the background to all of this.
Yeah, this is the ongoing conflict with the Caradron Overlords and Zeech.
Yeah, and
kind of, you know, when you think sky battles, that is, you know, Caradron Overlords, of course, is going to be one that really, is prominent there. And, you know, Zeech, actually, for me, I guess, would be my idea of the baddie, you know, with all the discs and the screamers and the chariots. It's you kind of imagine them being an airborne host.
And, you know, the whole background to all of this is basically Grundy comes along and says, you know, I'm going to make a land in my image, basically.
Yes.
So he does this God-wrought isle sort of thing, this beautiful, you know, set of lands that are beautifully organised. They're almost like clockwork, you know, and perfectly formed.
Yeah,
and
which eventually turned into Shaman, that...
Yeah, exactly.
He crafted Shaman.
Yeah. So it's got all the metals and those kind of things. And essentially, the way the story goes is this huge creature comes down. It gets tempted down by Zeech.
Yes.
To this griffin type thing, who lands on the center of the island, and it's full of sort of magnetic metals and those kind of things. And it messes everything up. Nobody can navigate. Nobody can do anything. It's all their instruments are ruined.
Eventually, all the cities of order come together, don't they? And they take it out.
Well,
I remember reading that
they send a whole bunch of dwarves get together.
Yeah.
And they send everybody against this beastie, and lo and behold, it can't be killed by normal weaponry.
Yep.
So all they do is really, really piss it off, basically, and it goes on a rampage.
Yeah.
And makes an even bigger mess of it. So 9 wizards, get together.
Really?
9 wizards get together, and their plan is, thanks Coleman, Shaman. These 9 wizards get together, and they come up with this plan: is to turn this massive god beast into solid gold. Okay. Winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah.
You know, there's a payday at the end of it as well.
That's a lot of gold.
Little do they know, one of the wizards is actually an agent of Zeech. One of the wizards.
Oh, that's not like Zeech.
And he cunningly weaves into the kind of incantations a warp of it. It breaks their spells. It still gets transmogrified into Valmorification. It still gets Valmorified into solid gold.
Yep.
But unfortunately, its death scream opens up the skies.
Yes.
In comes all the demons.
The spiral.
And it's the dawn of the Age of Chaos, basically. The whole thing gets ripped up and messed up.
Zeech was always interested in Shaman because it is a place of ever-changing landscape, isn't it? It's like clockwork.
Yeah.
The landscape isn't solid. It's constantly changing and shifting and unknowing. So that's why Zeech there. And of course, I mean, the Caradron Overlords love it there because it's all precious gold and minerals and ores and irons and stuff like that.
So, we've got the dawn of the Age of Chaos, we've got the ruination of that land, and then you get the birth of the Caradrons as they flee from it. So that's what's in all of this background story, basically, is kind of how everything happened, where the Caradron overlords come from,
which of course is kind of like the epicenter of Tzeentch's power.
Exactly. Where we then get where it gets for the gamer, where it gets interesting is this. But I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love the background fluff. Is we get into this battle into the clouds, the Maelstrom of Metal, and battle plans to play within that.
Yep.
I think we'll focus on that to a degree.
Yes.
Because you know what are we now? We are, I'm guessing, a few minutes into this show. So let's move to that, and we'll start talking about the mechanic, because it is really interesting. What this book basically gives you is the ability to do aerial combat.
Yes.
Yeah?
Well, yeah, which is quite interesting.
I am going to... I'll tell you what, let's just zoom out on this a little bit.
You know, there isn't a load of armies which could do a predominant aerial combat, but there is quite a few out there that have that flying
Hey,
unit.
there's enough. Deepkin,
Eiseneth, Daughters, Crypt Flayers, and Dragons, and, you know.
To name but a few. I'm sure there'd be more if you... Well, Stormcast Eternals.
Stormcast Prosecutors, yeah.
Okay, so you know there's some lovely artwork in here, by the way, where you can kind of see the kind of Tzeentch facing off against the Sky Wardens and you know the Endrin Riggers there. It's great stuff. What they're really leading to then is this Maelstrom of Metal and this battle in the sky. What you've got inside the campaign basically is, you know, this forms a narrative campaign. There's 3 missions. We've got Company, Worth a Little Risk, and Of E for Gold and Anarchy. Talks about the hidden agendas in there, goes through the mechanic of picking one, so you must secretly pick a hidden agenda to apply to your army for the battle. Maybe that's a good time to stop and just have a quick look at the... There are 3
I mean, it's a
hidden
mini...
agendas
there's an agenda for each game, I think, isn't there?
So we've got a hidden agenda for the Tzeentch, which is Dreaded Dis. If you complete this agenda, if your Zangar Enlighten unit is more than 9 inch from an enemy unit, attempts to charge, and the charge does not fail. So all you got to do is a 9-inch charge, more than 9 inch.
Dice.
So you're going to need to roll. I mean, you know, if you get this right, you do just above 9 inch, and you roll 9 inch and still get in. But yeah, Destiny dice to help you out on that. We've got Hidden Agenda Bullseye. Again, this is each one. You complete if a unit of Zangar Skyfires inflict 3 or more mortal wounds with its Judgment from Afar ability over the course of the battle.
That's not hard.
It's good. It's good. Well, it depends. Doesn't always go. It doesn't always go off that, but it does go off. Let's see. We should have. I've lost one, haven't I? Typical, isn't it? Yeah, it's probably on the floor down here. I did drop them. We've got. Here we go. This is the Sky Stalkers. So this is if a unit of Screamers of Tzeentch inflict 3 or more mortal wounds with its slashing fin ability over the course of the battle. You know, again, you've got to get them in there, though, haven't you, to make that happen? And here we go. If you inflict 6 mortal wounds with Grunstock Gunhauler's Drill Cannon ability over the course of a battle, and drop assault if after being set up using the Hitch's ability, a unit of Endrin Riggers that is more than 9 inch from an enemy attempts to charge, the charge does not fail. And apologies, I'm sure there is a 6-1 somewhere. I'm sure there is, but unfortunately it's vanished. So either way, good stuff. You pick that basically, and that's the interesting one. Is you pick one hidden agenda for your army for that battle. Place the card face down on the table, and when you complete the agenda, you reveal it like some cunning tactician. Aha! I charged you.
Yeah.
And now I've achieved my hidden agenda. I'm looking forward to that in the tournament.
Yes.
I think that's going to be fun. I don't think there's anything you can kind of do about it. You could almost second guess what your opponent's trying to achieve. But things like an over 9-inch charge, for instance.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to guess.
Hard to guess and/or interrupt. You can't get into that too much, can you? What I'm going to do is zoom in a little bit on this, because let's have a look at the Maelstrom of Metal, which covers aerial battles. And there's a few things that I just want to focus in on here then. So breakneck speed, first rule for aerial battle basically, is you roll 2d6 instead of d6 when making a run for a unit that can fly.
Yeah.
Winner. Love it.
Woo!
Super fast. But they need to be fast. We'll come back to that why. Fleet of Wing. Units that fly are eligible to fight when they are within 6 inch of an enemy unit and can pile in up to 6 inch. So this is all kind
Yeah,
of showing
it's
that
quite
additional movement.
interesting, yeah.
That in itself creates some interesting stuff, but given everybody on the table's got a 6-inch pile in and eligible at 6-inch, I think it kind of overrules, you know, where 6-inch pile in would be really useful.
Yes, yeah.
In addition, units that can fly, can retreat and still charge later in the same turn.
That's pretty good.
Great.
That's pretty good.
And again, it's designed of the idea, I think, of almost units passing in midair.
Yeah,
Combat, they
yeah.
fly on and then they attack somebody else.
They don't get stuck in there with each other. They skim past.
Yeah, super fast moving game. But again, they need to be fast moving, and we'll come for that. All terrain features are classed as floating terrain for this battle. Models are not visible to each other if an imaginary straight line 1mm wide drawn through the closest points of the two models crosses over more than an inch of any floating terrain. So it shuts down a little bit of the long range shooting, but you know. But the great news is that's cool because you're using all of the terrain to kind of, you know, dive through clouds and come over the top of a floaty rock of some description. You know, proper Millennium Falcon way flips over through the cloud. In addition, models cannot end movement on floating terrain. So they're basically obstacles you have to go around, We have a command ability for aerial battles. The barrel roll.
Let's try spinning.
Try spinning.
That's a good trick.
Okay, you can tell everyone.
You just ran to the gun hole and just corkscrew it.
You can use this command ability at the start of the enemy's shooting phase. If you do so, pick one friendly unit that can fly that's within 10 inch of a hero. Subtract 1 to hit rolls for attacks the target unit in that phase. So it's just a shutdown of the shooting stuff, which I think is pretty cool. I think that's nice. We've got runaway scenery.
Now this is where it gets interesting.
After terrain has been set up, but before setting up their armies, the players roll off. The winner of the roll-off must pick a battlefield edge as the exiting edge. The opposite battlefield edge is the oncoming edge. So the entire battlefield is on a parallax scroll, basically. At the start of each battle round, after the first, all models and pieces of terrain on the battlefield must move exactly 6 inches to the exiting edge, starting with the models and terrain pieces close to the edge. So
you kind of a lot of game systems are playing this kind of rolling battlefield, isn't it? Yeah.
All models remain in the same configuration after the move as before. For example, units that are within 3 inches of the enemy unit will be the same position within 3 inches of that enemy unit after the move. So no sneaky, you know, moving things up at a slight angle. Everything just moves back. I mean, I could see this, you know, ideally you just play this entire game on the treadmill. Any models that are moved within 1 inch of the existing edge are slain. Any terrain pieces that are removed within 6 inches of the exiting edge are removed and placed within 6 inches of the oncoming edge. By the player who took the final turn of the previous battle round. So again, that's that rolling road thing. You move your terrain, it disappears off the edge, you pick it up and you put it back on. You can go, you know what, I'm going to stick it in your way there as it parallels its way down there. I really like the idea. Couple of clever rules. I really like that kind of fleet of wing. I think it really gives a feel for what aerial combat's
high speed combat.
Yeah, just glancing past each other with combat. I think that's really cool. And I like the breakneck speed. The fact it's 2d 6 inch run,
everything's a lot faster.
Yeah, really nice. So, which, you know, again, you're probably going to need, because it's one of those things that table edge will catch you at some point. You've got to kind of, you know, get away from it. Be interesting to see, obviously, because the KO faction generally moves slower than the Zangors in this. I think they're going to have an easier time keeping up. But you can use charges to extend your movement. We've definitely got to give this game a go. There's a few, as I mentioned, few battle plans in here.
You got 3. It's kind of a mini campaign. It's a mini campaign. It gives you the armies to use in each of the missions. But I mean, I'm sure you could use your own armies. Of course, you don't have to use the armies.
Now, I'm going to confess, I haven't given this much of a read. Have you looked at the missions at all?
Kind of. I've kind of looked. Yeah, sure, why not?
Well, we've got a good stock gun hauler, you know, a unit of 3 Skywardens. So this is the opening battle plan, and you meant to play them in order.
This is kind of like the forwards advance party from the Carajons. They got their boat with their little Skywardens hitching a lift on, and they kind of get caught out.
So we've got an exiting edge and an oncoming edge. And you deploy right on that exiting edge. So if you are Zeech, you've really got to get moving forward. And the good news is, of course, is because you do have slow movement, is these guys try to either get past you or whatever.
Yep.
It's setting up a whole bunch of combat in the centre of the table, isn't it? Let's just have a look at.
You've got some interesting rules, like so Desperate Escape. It's about the I think it's about the Caradons actually trying to get to the oncoming edge, trying to run away from the Zeech, get out of there, get back to their engine master to report what's going off. But the problem is you've got low Aether reserves. The Gunstruck Gunhauler cannot use its Fly High or a Head Full abilities in this battle, so it's running low on fuel.
Okay.
It stops you from just
like
going
it.
woo.
Yeah, it stops you from just, hey, I'm out of
Yeah,
here or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
And again, this is when Zeech's speed is going to help, because you can move 12 inches away, whereas Zeech is going to be moving up to catch you with her faster movement.
Victory conditions are interesting. If the Overlord's player Gunhauler has escaped, the battle immediately ends. The Caradon Overlord player wins a major victory. If the Overlord's player Gunhauler is slain, then Zeech get the major victory.
Yeah.
And then finally, otherwise the battle ends at the end of the 4th battle round. So it's a bit like a meeting engagement. It's only four battle rounds wrong. I didn't even say that. Battle rounds long. Battle rounds wrong. If the Caradon Overlord players have escaped, the Caradon Overlord player wins a minor victory. If the unit has not escaped, the Disciples of Zeech player wins a minor victory. So you've just got to get off the table. Basically, that's the long and short of that mission. There's a few questions, so let's just jump in there as well, or at least a few comments. DJ the Lucky One, Sky Wardens. Oh yeah, I only do the dial faces on heroes. So they're talking about dials basically. Barak Zon makes them tasty now. Yeah, well, would they do indeed. I think there's a bit of what have we got in here then? All Nighthaunt Fly. Oh no. Okay, good point. Daka Flack of Flame, awesome name. And all of that rhymes. I hope they come out with Sky War at some point.
Orcs. Yeah. You could quite easily convert a Caradon Overlord's army.
Well, you could.
You know,
but I know what you mean.
Orky balloons with kind of like big
balloons.
Scary squig
They
floating
deserve something.
squigs.
They deserve something though, don't they? Like rocket packs or something like that. Just something that's ridiculously painful.
Doom Divers. Goblin Doom Divers, but with wings that they flap.
I wish Doom Divers hadn't gone away. The Bod 76 says, nice, now I want to play an aerial battle with my Deepkin. Too right.
Yeah. Flying eels, what could be scarier?
So, what if you successfully use the Ritual of Tempest in an aerial battle? Ritual of Tempest, help me out. Wait, that's Iden of Deepkin, isn't it? Ritual of Tempest.
Well, where nobody can fly.
Yeah, that shuts it all off. You don't have
to fly. It's just units that can fly.
So you're going to have to truck along the ground, but bear in mind that the battle is progressing. So, you know what? Let's just double check whether you have to have the fly keyword.
You don't have to.
No! In this format, players battle exclusively with flying units.
Oh, okay.
So you've got to have a flying unit. Interestingly enough, though, you could mess up their flying, in which case they get grounded.
Yeah.
And they could scroll off the table. So yeah, I mean it still works.
Yeah.
You just get grounded, don't you?
Yeah.
So okay, that's Battle Plan 1. We have Battle Plan 2. Let's have a quick look at this. Worth a little risk. Much more different in terms of how this is done. We
more
have
of a classic battle.
Classic battle line. 5 objectives.
I don't think this is. Use the aerial battles and regions of excluding the runaway scenery.
So this is a stationary.
This is a stationary aerial combat. Yeah.
We've got some cool stuff going off. Let's have a look at the factions. So this is a Grunstock Gunhauler, then a unit of 3 Sky Wardens and 3 Enden Riggers.
So it's just not the characters in this one.
So basically, and the same applies for the Zeech. It's the full box, minus the special character. The battle is fought to control 1 objective. Place an objective marker in the center of the battlefield and 4 tokens in the location. So you've got a central objective. Let's just cut back to that. Objective, 4 tokens around it. Both armies have been set up before they begin. Pick your hidden agenda, and then we are into the Ares pull. So the tokens around the objective represent distorted magnetic fields and must be numbered 1 to 4. The players roll off, and the winner picks which token will be number 1. The rest are numbered clockwise.
Mm-hmm.
At the start of each battle round after the first, before determining who has the first turn, the players roll off. The winner rolls a d6 to determine which magnetic field is activated. 1 is 1, 2 is 2, 5 plus you choose. Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be 5 plus re-roll, but no, 5 plus you choose. All units in the battlefield must then move exactly 12 inch in a straight line directly towards the active token, starting with units closest to it. If 2 units are equally close to the token, the players roll off and the winners move, blah, blah, blah. Units that begin this move within 12 inch of the active token must move as close to the token as possible. So you can end up with this,
That's interesting, yeah.
Slam to the centre. If players are tied on victory points, so what is it? Player with the most victory points at the end. So at the end of each battle round, the player who controls the objective scores 3 victory points. If both players have the same number of friendly models wholly within 6 inch of the objective of the battle round, they score 1 point each.
That's quite cool. Magnetic flux is going off and just pulling your ships in.
So you're on the objective, and then you all get sucked off of it again. You've got to get back on it, and then you're sucked in the opposite direction.
That's
really
interesting.
cool.
That's interesting. Again, that's one where Zeech's speed will be quite good, but speed is all good until you're getting smacked in the face by a big cannon blast, so that's always that.
Okay, so the Bod 76 is saying that rule actually makes enemy units can't fly until the next hero phase. So there you go. They would indeed be grounded. So yeah, interestingly enough. So it still plays.
Yeah.
Still plays. It'd be a bit of a bummer if you're on the ground.
Yeah.
Dave says, if you don't buy the box, you'll never get the hero minis contained within! Exclamation mark. Is that true? I don't. No, they'll be separately released.
Who knows? They still haven't done the
They'll.
Bombardier separate. If they do, it'll be a long time.
Yeah.
Still
I mean,
done the
they don't hurry.
and
I mean, it's fair to say
separate.
they don't hurry them out, do they?
But
But they will come.
eventually.
Maybe not this sculpt, maybe an alternate sculpt, but at some point.
I think
they'll
maybe
come out.
when the next battle tome comes out, usually is what we see.
I mean, it's always interesting because the size of these sprues now, of course, is they're the box size, not the blister size.
Yeah.
So worth noting. Right, okay then, and then we are into Battle Plan 3, and the last part of probably what we're going to cover today without getting into the battalion. We could have a quick look at the battalion.
Yeah, I mean,
let's just go into this.
The armies are everything in the box, including the battalions.
12-inch bubble in the middle with Zeech, and the Caradron Overlords right on one side of the table. What is this mission about? You get the full battalion, so that's the full box set basically.
Yeah, because it'll be worth noting that I think from what I've been reading, the entire story behind this campaign is Zeech, in Zeech's ever so tricky way, is kind of like whipped up this magical ether storm, and it's pushing it towards one of their floating sky cities. And it's about these dwarves kind of finding out about this storm and having to get back to warn the Sky City, or to kill the Magistar who's being this conduit of power and stop the storm before it ravages through the city, because that would be bad. Yeah.
Cool. In which case, you could play this as part of a bigger campaign, couldn't you?
You could eventually get Zeech boarding the Sky City and...
Nice.
It's always something quite interesting that I'd like to like Games Workshop to explore more, is these big old sky cities, this Laputa-esque thing where it's just cities floating in the sky with these big old propellers huge ships on their cargo bays.
And it's worth mentioning there's some very cool artwork in here, and I'm not sure it's a sky city.
No, that's a port, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a port, but let me just see if I can bring this up. So can you see that there? It's actually on legs above the ground, isn't it? But it is, I mean, arguably almost like a sky city, because it's right up there. You've not got easy access if you're down on the ground down here. It's really designed for aerial stuff. So I wondered whether that's what it meant by sky city, whether that was a sky city and they're actually connected to the ground in some way and not floating. But who knows? Either way, they're very, very cool. I really like it. Let's get back to that final mission, though. Just having a quick look, we've got denial of the Aethermatics. Engine riggers can attempt to unbind one spell in their enemy phase, as if it was a wizard.
Just getting really angry about all this magic.
Roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to the Magister while this model is within 3 inches of a friendly disciple of Zeech On a 5+, the wound or mortal wound is negated, and the nearest disciple of each unit suffers it. So that's sacrificial victims. You can pass on your wounds. And again, it's got the Ares pull rule in here. So this is, you must move exactly 6 inches in a straight line towards the centre, the token in the very centre of the table. So again, everybody slowly, inexorably drawn into the centre there. And low-powered Aether Seal. At the start of every battle round after the first, the disciples of each player roll 1 dice. On a 6, they can pick 1 Caradron Overlord's unit from the battlefield who suffer a mortal wound.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like the combat damage accumulating now. They haven't had time to fix their armour. Their seals are starting to crack and venting oxygen and...
Couple of cool little war scrolls. Let's just cover it then. So this is the Intrepid Prospectors.
Yeah.
It features the box set.
Yeah.
I mean, important to mention though, you're meant to do 3 Engine Riggers, 3 Sky Wardens.
Yep.
So you build them in both options. And essentially, this will be quick work. I love their... so after armies have been set up before the first battle round begins, you can move friendly units from this battalion up to 6 inch.
It's cool
So
little advance.
3 6-inch move. And then we've got Abhet's Sky Seekers. And in this, again, it's the box set. It's Enlightened and Skyfires, of course. Same restriction. When making the charge roll from the unit from this battalion, roll 3d6. Remove 1 dice from your choice, and then use the remaining 2d6 to determine the charge roll.
That's always useful.
Yowza. Yowza,
Makes that
yowza,
9-inch
yowza.
charge easier.
And there we go. After that, we're kind of into this, the pitch battle profiles. For those of you who
There
just want
is
to know,
points for the battalions.
there is
in this,
points for the
which is
battalions,
interesting.
so you can take those battalions at 110 points each. Lovely.
Yeah, it's really nice. One of my favourite boxes they've done.
Yeah,
I think.
absolutely.
Because
blown away by it.
not only do you have, with like Loon Curse and Carrion Empire, so it was cool, you got new models, you got kind of this nice themey campaign, but with this you've got something a bit more now, haven't you? You've got this new way of playing,
Yeah.
It's it's not something you're going to want to do constantly, but it's kind of like, it's kind of quite fun to do every now and then, this rolling battlefield.
We spend a lot of time with different armies doing stuff for battle reports, so we're constantly like almost chasing a different game.
Yeah.
So therefore we tend not to tire of the missions and those kind of things. But not everybody's playing like 4 or 5 different armies at any one time, And I think if you've got flying units and you're looking for a different way to play, and I think it is like a meet and engagement game.
Yeah.
These are good, fun, quick games.
Yeah, it's not overly competitive.
You could do some fun little terrain pieces. Just get some of that. You don't want cotton wool, but you want that the stuff that they stuff teddy bears with. You can get big bags of it off of internet selling websites, and just do some clouds and
rocks,
and then a floaty rock just flying through the sky, and I think it'd be really cool. I mean, you can use your standard terrain. There's nothing stopping you doing that, but because it can be a floating forest. For instance, this is the land of Shaman. It's all messed up. Shaman. Catch up on the chat, and then we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you on the next show. So Bod76 says, we've covered that one, sorry about that. Bod also says enemy units can't fly. Oh, he'd done that one. Dave says, if you don't buy it, we've covered that one. Let's go with Gerard Winnie then, who says, hello all. I've got a mind bomb for you. Nautilus conversions for the ships. Wouldn't that be great? Absolutely.
It would be called some pirate theme, undead pirates.
One of the things I was looking at, the kind of shape of the model. I'd love to kind of move the ether engine-y bits to the side, and but you just it'd be so many
side-mounted cannons.
So
I think that would be cool with like the what's it called? The forward-facing guns.
Yeah.
Have them as like sidewards broadside cannons on it. Classic looks then.
Kind of classic pirate ship look.
Yeah.
Right, well there you go. We're going to say goodnight. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed the look through the box. We are currently chewing over the battle tomes, and we'll do a review as and when we feel we've really got to grips with them. Done a couple of test games and those kind of things, and then we feel we've got a sense for it. We know there's mixed reviews out there to those things, but there's lots to be done to play around with them yet before I think anybody can do final judgment on that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vaughan. Got to be covered, yeah? And so does Jared. Second, that one. Move it to the side. Oh, well, there you go. Look, there you go. Nice. Right, good night all, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.